Boom, boom. We are back with another fantastic episode of Find Your Freedom. And we got two super cool individuals today. But before we jump into them, we have something free for you. It's easily downloadable. All you have to do is go to www.findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. That's right. www.findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit is built for you, easily downloadable, absolutely free. Now, who we have on, we always say guests, but guess what? We don't have guests here. We have friends, right? So we're going to bring these two individuals in here. We got Denise and Scott, and they got something called Safari for the Soul. And I can't wait to jump into that because it just makes me feel good and cozy. And we're going to talk about all these glamping sites and how they just took their vision and made it something super awesome. So, Denise and Scott, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, amazing today.
That's spectacular. Happy to be here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome.
Finally.
Yes.
Awesome. That background is great. You know, you're out in the open, taking in some fresh air. Hey, just to kick this thing off, give us a little background on yourself, if you don't mind.
So I'll let Denise go first because I always like to follow, but I'll let
Let's do it.
They're the best for last, right?
Good man.
Background. Well, let's see. We've been partners in crime for almost 20 years next year, so 19. We live in Spicewood. We got two boys, 16 and 18-year-olds, and we're here in Spicewood, Texas, which is right outside of Austin, Texas, and what's known as the Hill Country. And we're just kind of chilling, doing this thing full time now, which is a huge, huge accomplishment for us this year, both of us. So we get to see each other every day.
Every day.
Is that a good thing?
Oh.
Just, one of us stays upstairs and the other one stays downstairs.
Yeah.
And it works out just perfect.
Yeah.
Just
What you want to add?
I would simply say, coming from Southern California and moving to Texas in 2008, I didn't know what to expect in life. It was, starting over. I'm a vet myself, so I'm used to traveling around doing different things in the world. But coming to Texas was an interesting experience. And then actually, you kind of pick up from where you left off. In California, I lived in suburbia. We moved into suburbia, keeping the kids close. And I got claustrophobic. And at one stage, about 5.5 years ago, I told Denise, I said, I can't do this no more. I'd have a guy down the street taking pictures of my dog, going, hey, he pooped in my yard. And I'm like, nope, can't do this no more. I want to move out to the country. And so really that was God that actually kind of led us in a direction that really put us on a trajectory to where we're at now. And it's just, you really never know what's going to happen until you move your feet. And if there's any one thing I could say about what we've done is we've moved our feet, in faith. And then through that process, these things just come, they get revealed to you, and then you just keep moving your feet. And so now we're on, what is almost 10 acres of property with a couple different Airbnbs on this property, and as well as another property that we've acquired and moved forward with. But this journey has been really unique. And if you think about living in suburbia and then going into the country, because we are in the country.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about that. Grocery store is 25 minutes from us. So anyways, that's a little bit of how we, come to where we're at right now. But we're certainly happy in this moment.
That's super cool. And I feel like I talk to a lot of investors and a lot of times it's like the end goal is, okay, I'm going to be in the country. I'm going to be at the beach. And what you did was in 2008, you decided, hey, I'm just going to pick up and I'm doing that now. And that is unique, super unique in itself, and kind of how that's then spun into all these different opportunities. So walk us through like the initial stages, because what I'm really curious about is, where you're at now, everybody's like, oh, that's the best. It's amazing. You have these like beautiful glamping sites. But what about that initial transition, and how did you, eventually, live out the vision that you guys, initially had, or did it evolve?
Do you want to hear the real story is what you're asking for?
Yeah, the real story.
Yeah, that's what we want. This is an exclusive. No one ever heard. This is the first time it's being Said, let's
There's like
go.
the Disney version and there's a Jerry Springer version and something in between, however you want to do it.
Let me give the real version of what he just said. It sounded really good though. No, it's. I'll break it down in like the 2 minutes of where we're really at, and then start where we got there, and then hand it over to Scott. So where we're at, in case anyone's listening is like, well, who are these two people? Our company is called Safari for the Soul Glamping. We have about 6 safari tents, amazing safari tents on 2 different locations, both 6 acres. And we've been doing this now for over 5 years. It started in a way that you might not imagine, and I'll kind of get to that. But here's the emotional triggers. Let's talk about that since we are finding our freedom, right?
Here we go. Let's go. Let's do it.
So Scott mentioned, the beginnings. Well, here's what's happening, ladies. Your man's going to get super tired and grumpy somewhere around 50, and they go through menopause. Now, it could be happening to your husband.
Some people buy a car, just so you know.
Right. So this one was like the big dog that was just getting in trouble with the neighbors, as he mentioned. So we were in suburbia. We had kids. We were following everybody else, doing the things that people do to be successful. Work your ass off. Do what you're supposed to do. Get a tech job. We're both in recruiting for over 17 to 20 years for him. Sitting behind desks, getting bored, following the neighbors, and it just wasn't really making the money. Had a nice house, beautiful. Kids were happy, trick-or-treaters going everywhere, Christmas. This one playing Santa up and down the street, which actually did lead to this glamping business, but we'll get back to that. Yeah. So long story short, this one, menopause, turning 50, started getting grumpy whenever he saw people. The HOA was sending us tickets for parking his boat on the driveway. Just like BS stuff you get super tired of, right? Yeah. And we took a look around and we were like, he's like, I can't do this. Like, I am tired. I don't know if it's my job, if it's the place, but let's move. And he was, let's go to the country. Let's go to wherever, Spicewood. I'm like, hell no. I am doing wine night Wednesdays. Got my girls. I can go, like, I'm within 5 minutes of everything. You want me to live in the middle of freaking nowhere? And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll consider it, but we got to have a purpose bigger than just a place. Right?
Yeah, because I introduced her to hunting. I was like, okay, there you go.
He wanted to hunt shit and shoot shit from California. So who's the Texan now?
Nice.
But so that's the beginning. Is there's an emotional frustration. There's just something that you don't feel right. You feel like you're built for more, but you don't know what that looks like. Right? So it started with just recognizing, like, we're tired. We're frustrated. We need something bigger. And then we started moving our feet on the where, not the what, just the where. The what was going to be somehow we need to make money wherever we live. And short-term rentals was something I had in my mind. Right? Yeah. And then from there, Scott got us to this place in Spicewood. Tell them how we rolled up in a field. Or no. How do we get to the tents? That's what we should be focusing.
Well, so I want to interrupt real quickly. So, because you talk about the where, so how do you decide the where? Because you can go. So clearly, like, suburbia is not the spot, and so how do you narrow down to the where? Like Spicewood, like for the average person, let's say from California, I'm like, where's Spicewood? Like you explained it, but like why Spicewood versus anywhere else?
So I'll answer part of that, and then Denise can probably put in that. So the where is really, it's personal, right? And so when I think about where, it had nothing to do with anybody else other than me. I didn't look at this property and go, who can I get to come here? I went, man, do I want to be there? And one of the things, there's multiple things, but I had water, maybe about 100 foot away from my back door. I have a wraparound back porch. I had 2 boat docks. I have deer that come through my property. I can shoot deer from the top of my porch. I don't have to sit out in a blind no more. You know what I mean? There's all of these little things, but it was all about what I wanted. And then that vision from what I wanted turned out to be what people crave. And so the irony of when you're true to yourself and evaluating where you would do and where you would live and how that impacts you, it transitions over to other people coming to share your dream or share your vision.
Yeah.
And so you really have to have an honest approach of not about a dollar bill, but can you do that? We went from a 3,500 square foot house to a 1,600 square foot house. We got one sink in the bathroom. You're either pushing in or you're pulling back to pass each other up. So, sacrifices, right? 1,600 square foot from 3,500 square foot in a lake house. It's beautiful in the backyard, front yard, trees. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're in nature. And that was something that really kind of brought me back into just alive. It made me alive again. I didn't feel like I was just at home, just walking, fumbling my way through the day to day. Because as you get older, those days start blurring together, and now there's separation between the days. And so when you wake up, it is a new day. It's not like you wake up Monday and then now you're on Friday. It's really Monday turns into Tuesday, Tuesday turns into Wednesday, so on and so forth. And so really it's finding a place that you feel that you'd want to be at. And that was the biggest thing for me.
That's great. So we move out of the suburban, we move into the lake house, right? And is now giving you this refresh, like you feel like you're new, right? So you're there, loving it personally, right? So where did the idea of Airbnb happen to come up?
Good question. Well, Scott and I have always been huge on traveling and staycations and funness. Wherever we go, we're looking for something fun. And so when we were looking here and we arrived here, obviously the fun was the backyard, the boat, etc. But the place, so the where, it also includes like the place. Traveling exposed us to Airbnb. I'd really never thought about being like a true short-term rental owner through Airbnb. We just thought about, let's have a property where we can rent something out. I don't know the how, but let's rent something out. And when we moved to this property, there was a additional 1,500 square foot manufactured home on the same 6 acres at the top. And once we saw that place, we knew we liked the land and we knew we liked the lake. And we kind of thought we could squeeze into that 1,600 square foot place, but I had to have a bigger why than just a beautiful lake for me to give up my closet and all that. So, yeah. So we opened the door of that manufactured house and fired a real estate agent like a few weeks earlier because he said it was a piece of crap and no one would ever rent it. We should tear it down. We opened it up, walked in there, and we're like, this is money. Money. We're seeing money. And we're like, we can rent this short-term or long-term. We had to figure it out, and short-term was the best way. So then we knew, all right, that's at least half our mortgage paid. Now what? Right? So immediately we said yes. We started the move-in process, and that's all we knew is we had a rental up there. It's going to pay half the mortgage.
Can I just let me interject something real quick.
Remember, we only have 40 minutes.
All right, so now let's get to it.
You guys have definitely been married for a while, I can tell.
Yeah, so let's be clear about this. We would boat from our other property or our house in suburbia all the way up here, which is a 50-mile or about a 50-minute boat ride. We hacked our way through a bunch of 3-4 foot bushes and shrubs, man, 400 or 500 feet just to get to the deck and then sit up here. On the other side of the property where we built the first tent is this platform. And it looked like they had a jacuzzi or something sitting down there. I don't know what it was, but it was flat, had bricks that kind of cascaded down. Or
facing the water.
Yeah, facing the water, had these rocks. And I looked at that and I told Denise, I said, we're going to put a jacuzzi there. And that's all I knew. Yeah, I did.
Oh, bullshit.
I said, we're going to put a jacuzzi there. I don't know what's going to be on the other side of that thing, looking the other direction towards the water. A jacuzzi went there, and another one's going to go back there. And then we started on
So then about 4 glasses of wine later and a ride back from Fredericksburg, the wine country, we stopped at a friend of mine from growing up, a high school friend's brother. And that brother had a retreat out there I'd never even seen. It was called Living Waters. We didn't know what it was. I said, well, for the hell of it, let's just stop and look at this thing that my friend's brother has going on that I haven't seen in like 12, 15 years. And so we stopped, we looked, and he's like, yeah, this is a safari tent. I rent it out on Airbnb, and I make X number of dollars. And I was like, holy, honey, look, this is what you're going to build. I know you've only built a Santa house growing up for the kids, 3 walls. And I know you were in
Yeah.
construction and you did something good when you're in your 20s, but this is what should go on the front of that property in front of the hot tub. And he came, he looked at it, and he was like, you want me to what? I said, build this thing. He said it makes a lot of money, and it's pretty, and it reminds me of if I'm in Africa or Indonesia, and I always have this vision of like wanting to be somewhere else foreign, and I'm like, that makes me have the feeling. I have the feeling. So sure enough, you know, that
was the inspiration. That was the actual. When we both looked at it, immediately I went, I'm gonna make that thing 3 times the size it is. I'm going to do everything, you know, in my mind, I started thinking about how I can make that accommodate a couple. And right there, I really think, you know, in addition to, you know, like location and stuff, really finding your target audience, you know, we started looking at that and we were like, couples don't have places like this. Like I would come and stay in a bigger one of these things. And, you know, and that was kind of the vision. So we took that vision. And we came back and we looked at the property and where we were, like I had mentioned about where that jacuzzi was at. And we sat down there and we sat just down on the ground. We had some wine and we were looking at it. And we're like, you know, can you do it? Can I do it? Can we manage this? You know, and we prayed a little bit about it. And, you know, next thing you know, it was, you know, moving your feet. And so when we committed to it that night or that evening, you know, it was ready, set, go. And so really that was how it
had nothing to do with profitability. We knew it would make money, but we had no idea how much.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just, you know, sometimes you just have like a passion and then it turns into a purpose, or a purpose turns into a place. I mean, there's a lot of P's in my formula. We got some P's to share with you later. But that's how it started for this.
As it should.
And I think what you shared is really powerful. I think people want to be somewhere else, right? No matter where they are, like, you know, we always talk about being present, but people always visualize, I want to be somewhere else. And you're bringing the convenience of being somewhere else, but but the convenience of not having to go somewhere far to be somewhere else. So, you know, I think that's pretty amazing. And can you maybe describe just one of them to just so that somebody can visualize what this looks like? So like how big, like what sort of amenities, and like what sort of people come out there, and maybe a story associated to like somebody who's you know stayed at one of the you know the tents that you guys have.
So I'm gonna walk backwards just on the back part of it, and then I'll let Denise describe the rest of it. I will say that we're up to 40 engagements so far. So in 5 years, we've had 40 couples get engaged on our properties. And so
nice. Wow. That's fantastic.
And I can tell you, we're going on 20 years of marriage. We've been together for almost 23 years. I can tell you everything about our engagement, from the gondola to me getting on my knees, the Dom Perignon, you know, and the music. Well, 40 couples out there will be talking about the experience that we created, or that God, you know, prepared us to create. And, you know, and that's impactful. And that's a passion that has really, you know, pushed us to the scalability of what we're getting ready to do now. But as far as the tent size goes, I'm just going to simply say that inside the tent is 400 square foot, or right at 384 square foot. It's a frontier style tent. It's a free hanging tent. So it's the only free hanging tents in the U.S.
What does that mean exactly, free hanging?
So it hangs by grommets. It does it it hangs by rope, and the ropes are hanging from logs. So these logs are
big logs, big logs.
33 foot long red cedar, Texas red cedar. And if you ever done Legos, like I'm dating myself now, right? Or Lincoln logs, not Legos, Lincoln logs. If you ever done Lincoln logs, then you can put one of these things together. But if you haven't and you don't know what those are, probably not going to do so well. But anyways, I'll let Denise tell you the rest of it.
Yeah, you said what does it look like? So picture going to Africa, or picture going to Indonesia and having some kind of really heavy, like he said, logs, right, that are holding up a tent that looks really beautiful, that's heavy white canvas. It's we call it elevated glamping. So there's a bunch of glamping out there, but this one is called elevated. luxury glamping is kind of the other word for it. You walk in and you immediately have all the luxuries. You have a king size bed. We've got a couple kinds of bed we pick for couples. We affectionately refer to one of them as the King Kong bed. I'll let you read into that.
Okay.
Ooh.
And
And it just starts when you walk in because you know somebody's getting King Kong in that bed.
that is not what.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Every tent is designed with one little goal behind the scenes and one on the outside. The outside goal is for couples to reconnect, recharge, and relax. And that's what the tent style is designed. So everything from the luxury king bed to the nice, sheets to the dual coffee makers to the Alexa playing romantic music when you come in to the large oversized mini fridge to the luxury vinyl flooring to
Air conditioning.
the air conditioning for sure, to all of the wine
Wow.
glasses, utensils. Like it is basically a luxury studio inside a 400 square foot insulated tent on a platform, sometimes elevated, sometimes not, with your own personal hot tub and a very unique outside shower / bathroom designed by Scott. Everything's designed and built by Scott. And if it doesn't make couples want to make memories or make babies, then we haven't done our job. Because that's our
Gotcha.
internal mantra.
That's smart. That's
So-
smart. So let me ask. Let me ask this question. So, you're painting the picture of what this is like, right? And there's a lot of people who never stayed at glamping or there. And the first thing always for me, because maybe I live up here in the Northeast, is the weather. Right. The first thing for anything, regardless to where I'm flying out to LA tomorrow. Right. And the first thing I looked at is, well, what's the weather is going to be like? Right. And I think about rain and I think about storms and I think about now you're at the lake and there's going to be, potentially the water with the lake. So I guess tell us about that. How is this thing kind of weatherproof and safe that a person who comes from up north, who comes from the snow, comes from storms that will almost push your car over, right? To me, coming to a place where you telling me is a hanging thing. So kind of share a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, so I'll even share an experience of a tornado that hit one of them, and so
There we go.
We had a mini tornado that came through our launch in 2021. The day we were drinking,
Whoa! No
celebrating
way.
our launch, and we had guests coming, and the gardener. Anyway, so the tents they're really unique because they have a fly cover, right? So they're not exposed to the elements. They have a fly that goes over the top of them that keeps them out of the elements. I have mini splits in them. And I think the air conditioner is 27,000 BTU, which is rated to cool a 1,400 square foot room, and it's only 400 square foot. The heater is 18,000 BTU, which is rated to heat, I think it's 1,000 square foot. And so This summer was the hottest summer ever since I've been here. The most brutal. It was
105 to 107 ish.
110s,
Yeah.
and it just was relentless. And the irony of that is, in the tent and around it, inside the tent, we could keep the tents at about 76, 78 degrees, which is kind of par for what a house is at. Now, coming outside, and you're outside, you can't do nothing about that. Just like you can't do anything about that in your house. Once you walk outside, you're outside and you're in the elements. But inside the tent. was absolutely manageable. And then last year with the freeze, we had people that it was -2 degrees and they were hanging out in the tent nice and warm. And when you walked outside, you better be bundled up. But inside the tent, it's safe. The winds come through. We've had lightning bolts strike close, but the winds have come through 50, 60 mile an hour winds. And these logs when I get them, they're wet and they're about 500 to 700 pounds, the 33-foot ones each. And so
Whoa!
Elevating those things up, the center log is up 16 foot off the ground. The side logs that hold so it basically is an A-frame. So you have something going down the middle, then you have two coming down the sides, and those are 12 foot off the ground. So, or above, the bottom of the tent. And so thinking about locking that together, you really, something like that falls in, could kill somebody for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so really the construction of the logs are pretty much the most important component. That tornado came through. I'm going to reference that. Now it did tear the tent up.
Oh yeah.
It did rip the tent apart. Nobody was in it. But at the same token, it just tore part of the tent in the back, but the logs and everything else was fine. And so, as far as the elements go, we've had snow on top of them. We've went through ice storms. We've went through thunderstorms, tornadoes. We've been through everything. And so these tents were actually made in Canada.
Just showing.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
for listeners, he just put a picture up to see what they look like. But go ahead.
Yeah. So they're durable. They're, and in reality, that's just our style. And it's just, it's what we started with. Our scale of what we're getting ready to do now will include all kinds of different things, different unique structures, domes, A-frames, tree houses. So our next scale of what we're getting ready to do is really unique. But that being said, the safari tents are very durable, and that's really something you should be considering too, as an investor or somebody that's looking to put something together. You mentioned a couple key components. That's one of the valuation components of when you're trying to put something together to build. So
just gonna say, like, for those of you listening that are looking at, wow, I'm kind of interested in glamping. I don't know what this thing is, but it sounds kind of cool. Listen, if we can do it, so many people can do it out there. Glamping is like a $2.73 billion business right now, and it's going to be growing at least 10% each year, and will probably climb rapidly. And it's really not as prominent here in the U.S. as it is in the UK. So, Scott's he's picking a new site right now, probably looking at Fredericksburg. We're also we're launching a class that, we can tell you about at the end. In case you're kind of wondering, how do I build a glamping site? How do I even pick one? Because you just asked about weather, Lenny. There's about 5 P's to picking a profitable glamping business, right? And you just mentioned, about the weather, right? So picking one is, of course, the place, right? Wherever you pick a place. Okay. There's I won't go into that unless you ask us to, but a lot of it is wherever you pick a place will help determine your style of glamping. And glamping can mean so many things to so many people. We reference elevated glamping or luxury, which would include all those things we mentioned earlier. But yeah, these glamping structures are amazing, depending on the type of structure you pick. So there's lots to choose from.
And I just have one thing I'm going to add to that. Where Denise said, if you see ads online where people go, if you got some land, you can immediately start making money. Just pop down a tent, pop down a unit. You could be glamping right now. Yeah. Let me just tell you right now, it was easy. Everybody could do it. Now, if you want to have and again, it's if you want to go get a Coleman tent or something comparable to that and throw it on your pocket, $100 or something to come big, maybe you probably can do it. But if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. And so there is an art to it, and that, I think, when you went through what we went through, you've mastered how to replicate it. And I think that's really one of the components. If you're getting ready to do something like this, or when you're trying to find your freedom through stuff, get yourself around people like us, or like we get around other people that know, but get around people who actually know the details of it, because it's not as simple as those ads say, in my opinion. That's it.
Absolutely.
I was trying to organize.
I kind of want to dig into the numbers just a little bit, meaning like
business, and
from
it was so cumbersome.
Because I think there's a lot of questions about it. So like,
intent, it was cumbersome. Like where, how?
Yeah.
Do we pick here or do we pick there? Like outside of our backyard experience, the next place that we launched was really a formula. There's a formula, and it is not all guesswork. And there is data to follow, and you definitely do have steps you need to take to avoid those roadblocks because we had a lot of hurdles. So, I thought, well, let's just put it on a make money glamping site. makemoneyglamping.com, and we'll just outline what you have to do. And so if you want any kind of expansion, that's a great landing site that we put together to really expand to people how to do it.
So can you repeat that as a makemoneyglamping.com?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
I love that.
That goes through all the 5 P's of how to pick a place, based on proximity, population, permitting, power, profitability, and polarity. Polarity meaning what makes that land special and unique. Once you've picked all the other stuff, gone through that, then the polarity would be about that creativeness, that whether it's couples, adults only, whether it's teepees, and whether it's tents, teepees, tiny homes. There's a lot of glamping sites, right? So it goes through all of that.
So I feel like there's such a wide spectrum, kind of like you said, like the Coleman style tent to the, and you guys set the standard for, like an ultra luxury sort of glamping experience. So just like general numbers, like to get a glamping site locate, I know it's going to require maybe all, dependent on the P's, but generally speaking, like what does that run? Like I've heard such ranges of like, oh yeah, just 30,000, 80,000, 100,000. And it just like, it's such a range. And I know you probably had experience all across like the different spectrum as you've probably worked on your process, but what for an average person, and maybe they're, not as handy, what does that even look like?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, Scott can tell you how he did it, but then we'll also tell you probably what it would cost you now.
Yeah, okay. So I built a lot of my own, right? And so I'm a technology recruiter, been doing recruiting for 20 years. But I'm handy, and I can YouTube anything. If I can see it, I can do it. That's my mentality. And so for me, building myself, I had a helper, paid him, $18-20 an hour, and he would come out and, build decks with me and other kinds of things like that. But that was really it. When it came to, you evaluate water, power, septic, because that's the 3 main components. And if you can't put those 3 components on there, or you can't make it work, then it's just not a place for you to go. It's really, those are the 3 main components. And is it deed restricted or non-deed restricted? Because that matters. If you're in a city and you're trying to do something like this, then that's where you're on all the permits. And, there's advantages to being in a city because you can use city water, you can use city septic, electric's close. There's an advantage to that, but there's also a lot of restrictions to it.
How much do you think it costs?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So if you're going to do it in a restricted area, it's probably double the cost. If I had to, I would tell you for just my log set alone is $7,500 just for my logs, and that's to have them cut down, pressure washed, treated, and brought to me. And so your material costs are probably around, for what we do. I would say the material cost with not the labor, just the materials, and that's the interior and everything else, is probably about 45 to 50 grand. And then you add, and then you start adding the power of the water septic, and then the labor to put the decks together and all that kind of stuff. It could climb, it could climb up to $100,000. I would simply say that, you learn to save money where you can save money, right?
Right.
You build what you can build, you control what you can control, and then you pay for the rest. And so, it depends on the site. If you wanted to buy a dome, I bet I could put a dome site together for 45, 50 grand. I can buy a dome for say 30 grand, and I can build a deck out for 20, right? And so that's not even taking into consideration the property, right? So now when we went out and bought another property on the lake, 6.5 acres, back in 2020, it was $350K for that property. Now you can't touch that same property for under $1 million, maybe $1.2 million, just for the property.
Yeah.
Right.
So times have changed in that part of it. But I know once you have a product.
So Scott, let me ask you. So you let's just take, we gonna call this guy named Sean, right? So Sean, he has a lake house he's been living in forever, right? And he got wind of what you two are doing, and he has acres, right? His let's just say he basically marry you guys, right? And he just want to get an idea because he's like, man, this is fantastic, it's fabulous. He maybe join your course or whatever, and then he sit there and say, hey, how much money do I need to get this up and running? Not the a furnishing part, but just a startup cost. He's like, look, my mom want to give me a check. I got to tell my mother what a number. She's loaded, right? Because she's dying for me to sit here and start making money on my own, right? So what am I telling my mom? What is Sean telling his mother? What check should he ask for to get that site? Boom.
Well, I'll say one thing, we work it backwards.
Yeah.
I always work it backwards. So I always have a vision, right, of what I want, but there could be a phase 1 and a phase 2, right? So work it backwards. How much money do I have is one question. Mom's giving me $200,000, or mom's willing to give me $100,000. What you willing to give me, mom? Right? Mm-hmm. So it can work either way. Either what someone have and work it backwards, because this is all I got. I got $50,000 cash. I got to make this thing work, right? Or you can say, I want $100,000. So any way you look at it, the question of how much starts with the where and the what, right? I'm in this type of weather. I have this access to.
So let's mimic you. Let's just say that we 100% mimicking 100% your model. My land is 100% like yours. I'm in the same town as you, right? I want to build that same one house you got right over there, the same exact one. Yeah. So what am I telling my mom to write me a check for?
$80,000.
$80,000. Boom, 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 boom. So $80K roughly, right? Give and take, right? With everything, but $80K would be a really good startup number for to get what, just looking at what you guys have and going from there, right?
I think $80K could get you one something anywhere. And then depending on if you own land or you got to buy land, it's different.
Well, just all things being equal, again,
yes,
that's that number is I'm throwing that one out because, it's hard for me to gauge my labor rate, right? I know what I made as a recruiter.
Yes.
So if I was to break an hourly rate apart, really that's what it comes down to. And so the great thing about it when you're doing it is you can create whatever you want. You don't have to, you can, like I'm not a general contractor and I don't claim to be. Like if one of those guys came out and looked at what I built, they'd be like, what kind of monkey was out here doing this? But the guests don't know. They don't see nothing. They come out there and you have to have a guest go, hey, there's a crooked board right here, or look at your deck wasn't fully square, and why is it not all the way the same deck from the front to the back, and you had to shave it down a little bit. There's a lot of imperfections that happen in a build when you're doing it by yourself, but at the end nobody will see it, and it's really how fast can that pay for itself.
That's
our tents have
profitability.
We've self-funded everything. Like I didn't go to a bank. The only thing that we went and bought or used the bank for was the property. Everything else we self-funded, and our tents paid themselves off and with profit in the first year. So
that's awesome.
I would say in glamping, there's upwards of 40 to 50% profitability, which is unheard of because in short-term rental, that'll take you 3 years. That was the goal, right? Before things crashed a bit, 30% cash on cash return in 3 years, you're happy. Well, at the end of 1 year, if you can get 40% profits at the end of 1 year on something, that's kind of unheard of. And you can, especially if you have guidance from people who have done it before, they can help you make that profit.
But the really fun thing or the cool thing about it is there's so many really unique things to create now. So these tents I love them, but man, I also love tree houses. Yeah. And so my passion is to build, my next one will be, it'll include at least 5 tree houses. Mirrored A-frames, glass houses. There's tiny homes, or like if you wanted to build just a spot to roll a tiny home on, I mean, you could pick up a really nice tiny home for 100 and maybe 115, 125. that's maybe about 400 square foot. We just got back from that Colorado glamping show several weeks back, or the beginning of October, and there's a lot of new stuff that's out there. So, buck 50, you can pick up a really nice tiny home with a upper deck and all kinds of stuff. And you just build power electric septic to that one spot. You don't have to have it on you throw a slab down on it and then make sure you got the power, the water, the septic, and you're in business. So I'm guessing that's probably going to be another 15, 20,000 on top of whatever you spend on your tiny home. So, if you wanted a domes are 40 grand, and, you can put a deck together for, 8, and you still got to get power, water, septic to it. But if that only costs you 5 grand, now you're 50 grand into a build that can then now produce 85 to 100K of income in a year. So really it's the type of design that you make that you really have to understand. And then it's the audience that will dictate what that looks like.
There is an art, though. The bottom line is there is an art to cost analysis. And the great news is it's not subjective. So if you're out there and you've got some money and you either want to start with this is how much money I have, or this is how much money I can get access to, we can totally, people like us or ourselves, we can walk you through that process. You just need to know that it does take a lot of grit. It takes a lot of grit, more than being a short-term rental owner. It's not a plug and play kind of thing initially, but it also has a great commercial value if you build it right. And so this becomes a commercial property that's sellable, just like a boutique hotel or a boutique retreat. So we're talking bigger numbers in the long run, or it can just be a lifestyle business.
That's
the
great.
lifestyle
That's
business
awesome.
is what it was for 5 years.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
So so the one thing that you mentioned before was like, you're in the if they're not making babies or making memories, like that's really stuck with me, because I think when you're right, it's like one or the other. So I like the intent of them, and I think everybody's looking more and more for like the unique experience. And I think for really to stand out, you have to have something like that where somebody wants to make babies, or they want to make, they want to be proposing and memories. And so I think that's great. And I guess my question for you is, so as you guys have transitioned, as you guys are doing this, you guys kind of have like the next vision with regards to like, building on the current experiences that you have. What does find your freedom mean to you?
Well, I think it's about, for me, and we have two different things. And for me, mine's about finding time. Like, I want the freedom of time. I feel like I've just been in motion forever, and not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And now I'm in a position now where now I see how to get my time back. And we've taken steps to put us in position to, right now I no longer recruit. I'm retired from recruiting. And so I do this full time now. And so I created my time to get out of corporate. We created something to give me my time back. And now I get to focus on creating things for other people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, is I just want time, and I want, my freedom is that at this stage of life.
Yeah. Well, definitely freedom of time. For freedom means a lot of things to me. I'm a woman, right? What are you asking? No, I mean, freedom for me right now, I got my, definitely freedom of time. So that you can do what? Freedom of time is nothing if you don't have the next thing, right? Which is, for me, freedom to travel. I want to go explore. I want to hear other people's story. I met Lenny in a networking situation, and both of you actually. And that's what I love. I like hearing other people's story, traveling, going to unique places, helping others. To me, freedom represents that I'm not tied to an 8 to 5 anything, or even in my business every day, to where I can go share experiences and see and help others. And then freedom of time, obviously, that's second. And then money. I want to make money. I want so much.
There you go.
Own it. I feel like nobody ever says that, but like that's what they're really thinking, but they're trying to be like, correct. Yeah.
That's right.
So true.
Well, I just figured that was a given.
I have time.
So true. Hey, man. Yeah, so true. So true. But listen, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to sit here and listen to this episode. And there's going to be individuals who, find out, that this is really cool, what you're doing. And then there's also going to be people who will say, man, I have some land right now and I don't know what to do with it. So I guess how can people get in contact with you, and you can sit there and help them out any way, shape, or form?
We say, we wish we had our shirts on.
Yeah. I
No.
swear to yesterday, as a matter of
Well, so if you're interested in seeing what exactly are we doing and what have we done so you can have a better visual, then go to safariforthesoulglamping.com. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook and you just want to see kind of, again, search Safari for the Soul Glamping and it'll pop up. Instagram, we're at Safari for the Soul. We'd love for you to just to watch our daily stories and reels. But if you're interested in the business of making money and interested in glamping and getting some, maybe a course experience or handheld one-to-one consulting, then go to makemoneyglamping.com.
So, and just in closing with that too, is I've probably done about 8 consulting projects so far. And I'm absolutely open to sharing information. But I have a drone. I take a drone. I'll go walk the property. I've walked probably, I don't know. I walked a 36-acre ranch. I walked a 55-acre ranch. Then I went and got my drone. But in reality, it's I would love to create and help somebody realize their vision, and that vision comes from just looking at a property and seeing what you can do with it. And I'd love to share that with anybody. So if you're
go to Make Money Glamping, and you'll see
our
our phone numbers and emails everywhere. Scott and Denise of Safari for the Soul.
Yeah, don't feel.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Making money. What was it again? One more time.
MakeMoneyGlamping.com.
MakeMoneyGlamping.com. Honestly speaking, that's like the perfect URL to have, right? So good, and that's what it's about, and we're super thrilled that all of you two came on and really shared this, because this is not being shared, out there, and there's not, a lot, and there's so much that people can do, and your story is so inspiring on just basically a place where you did for selfish reasons, right? That's now is not even a place for selfish, it's a place where people are coming and making memories. They're conceiving their kids there. They're proposing to each other, and you guys, are helping with that, and that's really super cool. So we definitely gonna have you back on after you sit here and build up some more sites, and we might have to come on site and do one live.
Experience it.
How about that? How about our next one or episode? If you guys agree to this, right? We'd do one live on the site, and kind of do. Would that be cool?
Yeah.
If you're going to stay in it.
All right. I'm recording this, so you can't go back on your word now.
And then, but Lenny, are you going to be the spoon, or am I going to be the spoon? Like, because we're sharing that one, right? Like, or like.
Don't go in the king content. We won't let.
Oh no, not no, thank you. Not happening.
You have the way of bringing out the wild in people, so that is
That's so funny. All right, so listen, we're at the end of the show, and what we like to do is we like to do this big boom session, right? And how it goes is I'm gonna count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the uniform manner, all 3 of us is gonna sit there and say boom as loud as we can. All right. So with that being said, get those lungs ready. All of us, man. We're all clean.
Ready?
Get your King Kong lungs out.
There you go.
They're here.
All right. So on 3, we're gonna go boom. All right. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Awesome. Listen, check this out. There we had a great episode of Find Your Freedom. And glamping is something that a lot of people don't even know about. And right now, Scott and Denise, they're there, teaching this. All right. And they have a site. So you want to go, you want to sign up, you want to sit there and talk to them, because they are the experts of this. They've been doing it for a very long time. They have the craziest stories, so they'll make sure that you are super up to date on any and everything, there be. So I need you to also listen to this episode. We need you to listen and give an honest 5-star review. This is how we get more and more and more good people who's providing so much information for you to help your journey. And we need you to subscribe and share. Please share this with all your friends, your mother, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle. Share with all your coworkers, the ones that you like and the ones that you don't like. Now, to the next episode of Find Your Freedom. We talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Woo.